Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Mansfield Buzz. We're on every Thursday from 2 to 3 p.m. That's right, covering local Mansfield business and surrounding areas. And guys, right now, let me go up to my banners here. I want to make sure you understand we are located on youtube.com at Mansfield TX Buzz. Go right over right now, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share our other businesses in Mansfield. We've done about 12 or 13 shows. We started in March. We're doing really well. We're up to like about 35 to 40 hours of watch time. We have 47 subscribers. We're building towards 100. But again, we let our clients, the people we interview, share their show to build the traffic and give them something to show off their business. Today, we're blessed with the company of Roger, and I'm just going to go first name. They can introduce their full names. Roger and David, Minuteman Heating and AC, and Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. And we've never done a tag. How do I say this? Two businesses at one time on the same podcast. And my host,
Special.
my best friend over here, host, is Jordan Hugh. Welcome, buddy. Thank you for hosting this. And Jordan takes over from Hyper Hurdy and gets into all the questions. And I interrupt everybody when I feel like talking. So just so you know, that's how the game works on here. So we're welcome to have you guys. Roger, say hi and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Roger with Minuteman Heating and Air.
And David.
How you doing? I'm David Crow with Benjamin Franklin Plumbing.
Right. And Jordan.
Hello.
And this is the going joke is, and I'm going to do a short on this, no kidding, is I say, Jordan, welcome. He goes, hello. And that's it. And leaves me sitting here going, so, but he's great at answering the questions. And today, guys, this is going to be really interesting because we're going to be bouncing back and forth between heating and AC and plumbing. And I think you guys should get to know these businesses because they're in the Mansfield Network group. They're fantastic. They service a lot of people. We're really excited to have them on the podcast, and we'll go as long as it takes to get through their questions. So without any further, Jordan, jump in, my friend.
Definitely. Let's take this on. It's kind of cool too, right? We got a heating and air and plumbing, so talking about being in the hot seat, that really feels sacred for this interview.
Yeah.
So let's get things started, right? I mean, there's so many things I want to ask you guys. But we'll begin with plumbers and hopefully a little bit of potty humor because why not, right? It's like perfectly acceptable here.
Absolutely.
I got the pun. I think Roger's going to explain on the first question how they're connected. Okay, so just so you know that, Jordan, I didn't clue you in on that in the prep. Okay,
that's all good. So let's get with questions, huh? So, why does my toilet keep running, or why does my toilet run for a few seconds and then stop?
So we get that question a lot. Hey, the most common one is, I hear my toilet running, then it'll stop, it'll kick on, kick off. And so if you took the lid off your toilet and looked inside, you'll have a flapper. And that flapper is basically what keeps the water from getting from the tank down into the bowl. And we'll get into it a little bit later, but the chlorine and chloramines that we have in our city water, that chlorine is what starts warping or drying out that flapper, and it'll cause it to not have a perfect seal around the rim of the flush valve. And so we put dye in there, and what we typically show customers is that you've got, let's say, blue water. We put a blue dye tab in there. You should never see blue water get from the tank down to the bowl. So the reason that your toilet is running or kicking on and off, it's got a float in there. And so its entire job is to keep that tank full. So as the water level drops in the tank, then the fill valve kicks on to fill the water tank up. So it's a constant fill and refill. So it's the flapper is the most common problem that causes your toilet to kick on and off.
and when they're running, they cost money.
Absolutely.
That's wasted water. There you go. Now you're going to flip, Jordan. Are you going to flip back to? Are we going to try this where we flip back to Roger now?
Yes. So we have.
That's too cool. I love it.
I know I'm not going to find it right. Like which one is?
It's like, well, I got to look over here at the dashboard. I'll be happy to help you. Just let me know.
And it's like water, air. So who is Minuteman Heating and Air?
All right. So it's not a long story, but it'll take a second. So first, I've been in the business since 1982. In late 2014, David and Bill, the owner of both of these companies, were looking to add air conditioning to their plumbing side. And David's son-in-law was a very good friend and employee of mine at the time, and he introduced us. And so, who is Minuteman Heating and Air? We are absolutely a sister company to Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, locally owned and operated right here in Mansfield, South Arlington, and started in 2015. And we hope to be here for many, many, many years.
I mean, what a great partnership, right, Jordan? I mean, think about it. You know, you got plumbing, heating, and AC. That's kind of almost a one-stop shop, right? So that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, when I think about it, really, is like it's some of your most common issues with a house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Water, heating, and AC. Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to, in case we forget at the end, because we can get into more details, right, about some of these basic questions, but from both you guys, starting with Dave, if it's okay, because I don't want to miss this. Okay, Jordan, forgive me. Maintenance programs. You know, we always hear that maintenance is important. If you don't service something, then it breaks, and it means that somebody has to keep an eye on it, or you have to do certain things to make sure that it's working correctly. So, David, let's start with you on the plumbing side.
Sure.
What sort of maintenance do you guys offer your customers?
So we have a maintenance plan. It's our Ben Society membership for our customers. And one of the most important parts of that is your water heater. Every manufacturer, doesn't matter, it's not brand specific, requires that you drain and flush the water heater every single year to keep the sediment from building up inside the tank of the water heater. Sediment is a tank killer. When sediment gets in there, all water heaters on the tank water heaters are glass lined on the inside. And when that sediment gets built up in the bottom by not being flushed, it can cause premature failure of that tank. And so we actually have, we educate the customers on that. But that is the most important thing, that you have one of the most expensive items in your house is your tank water heater. And if you've ever had catastrophic failure of that tank in a house where it's leaked and caused water damage throughout the house, you'd understand the importance of it. So all of our customers are educated on it. From the time you call in, if Jordan was to call in to book a call today with Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, and one of the ladies in the office was taking that call, part of what they would tell you that you would expect on the call is for the technician to go over our maintenance program and the benefits of having that, or the importance of having that maintenance plan.
Super. Now, I will tell you a funny story before we ask Roger the same question, and that is, I was worried about the copyright violation. I kind of mentioned this to Roger before David came on. I was looking for the video where the water heater shot out through the roof.
Yeah,
the roof of the house.
It really
I mean,
happens.
it's not uncommon. It's uncommon, but I couldn't play it because I didn't want to put a copyright up on our live stream. But okay.
So if you go to water heater, if you go
just
to
go look it up.
waterheaterexplosions.com.
Yeah, go look it up. It's funny. You'll laugh, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that show, Mythbusters?
Yeah, they did it.
On
exactly. Well, I just thought I'd say that. So, Roger, maintenance. Tell us a little bit about how you help your customers with that.
So maintenance is very important on our air conditioning equipment. Air conditioning is probably one of the most expensive things all of us are going to buy besides a car or our house. And you got to take care of it. So there's a lot of things that we do to make sure that your compressor is operating, which is going to be the heart of your system. You want to protect that, make sure that everything, all the components are operating the way they're supposed to, so it doesn't put any undue stress on your compressor. And make sure your coils are clean, so everything's breathing properly. And something that most people just don't realize is that a failure to do maintenance, the equipment manufacturers can absolutely void your warranty.
Yeah.
And for 40 years, I've heard that, but nobody's ever asked or nobody's ever done anything about it. But around 2021,
they started
right smack in the middle of COVID when all the parts were hard to find, and they pulled that card. They started absolutely requiring proof of maintenance to warranty your parts. And so I preach that every chance I get. Just protect yourself and protect your system and protect your investment.
Roger,
Yeah.
didn't you recently have to have a conversation with someone that we know that we actually sold a piece of equipment to, and you had to educate him and say, look, you haven't done your maintenance.
It was one of our ex-employees. It was a plumber that we sold the system to, and yes, he hasn't been doing maintenance, or he says he's been doing maintenance. He's been doing it himself. He's been washing his coils. He's been checking his stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great, but I can't submit that to the manufacturer for your. He had a coil develop a leak in it, and that's going to be a very expensive part to replace, and especially if Lennox won't warranty it, it's going to be very expensive. And so, if he'll get on maintenance, and I can show that he's been doing maintenance, I'll still find a way to get that thing warranted for it.
And the funny thing is that people do the maintenance. Well, some do good maintenance on their cars, but if you don't change your oil after you get a new car ever, you're not gonna have an engine. But I don't know why people can't translate over to their house stuff, right? Like basic plumbing, basic AC, the things they need to keep. That maintenance is necessary too. I mean, so yeah,
it's amazing to me how people think that an air conditioner is just supposed to last forever. It runs that motor, both motors and the compressor run more often, have more miles on them per se than your car does. Yeah. But you're going to trade your car in every 30, 45, 50,000 miles.
Right.
But you want this little air conditioner to last you 25 years and not do anything to it.
Right. And I get that completely. So, all right, Jordan, thank you for letting me interrupt that. But I wanted to get that part in because I wanted them people to know that they do offer maintenance agreements for their clients, which is smart, really smart.
And I have a little bit of a follow-up question with that too, as well, because as we talked about, as a pretty big investment, two of the most expensive things that you have in your house, maintenance is very important. But let's say you're fixing to buy a new house. Is there any way to inspect the water heater and inspect the AC unit to know if it's been maintenance and if there's something going on with it?
Absolutely. And I tell you, we have more horror stories from people that we know, realtors that will call us friends, that we didn't even know they were buying a house, that if we could have got out there and did a home inspection. So let me talk about plumbing for a second. So if we were to go out there, Jordan, you're thinking about buying a house, and you want to just come check it out. On the plumbing side, we're going to come in and check the incoming water to make sure the pressure doesn't exceed code requirements, which can't be more than 80 psi. If it's over 80 psi, there's some things that we have to put in place. So we document that for you. As long as you have accessible cleanouts, then we're going to take a fiber optic camera, our sewer equipment. We're going to run those down the sewer lines to make sure that there's nothing that you need to be aware of, because that's expensive. Then we're going to check the water heater, look at the condition of it. Is it up to code? Was it installed properly? We're going to dye test, check there is a long list of things that we're going to check for you. And it's very inexpensive compared to not having this done. And then you buying this house and you're not in there before you've made the first payment, and you're needing one of us to come out because you have a breakdown. And then Roger can cover what they would do for you on the AC side.
And so, we would basically, what we would do is we'd almost basically perform a maintenance. I mean, we might not do all the actual work, but we're going to go through all the same steps. Tell you how, let you know, do your coils need to be cleaned? How much dust is on your blower wheel? How is it throwing it out of balance? How dirty is the indoor blower motor? Is your compressor pulling the right amps? Look inside the ductwork. See, has the ductwork been cleaned? Has it ever been cleaned? Nobody wants to go in. You're buying a new house, but you don't want to live with the people who used to live there because they're still there.
That's so gross.
That's a good way to say it. Don't think I've ever heard that before. That's pretty good.
Well, when you think about it, they are still kind of there with you. Yep. So we just make sure that all
the ghost of owners past. Okay, that's what we'll call it.
So we just we'll just give you a full evaluation of what you should expect out of your system.
And Roger, just to follow up a little bit, if what determines, and to me, this has always been a little confusing because things can be fixed, right? If they're not too far gone or the maintenance has been done. What is the general rule on in Texas with the heat we have, running 4, 5, 7 months a year with the air conditioners on just about all time here, almost through the end of November, right? What is the general rule of thumb for replacement? Is it a yearly thing? Is it about the maintenance on it? Or I'm not really sure how to answer it because some companies come out and just tell you need to have it replaced. Other companies will come out and say, no, it's just this. So how do you determine when it actually needs a full replacement?
So first, the only person who can really decide if it's, when it's going to be replaced is the person who owns it.
Okay,
because as an air conditioning guy, I can keep anything running as long as I can buy parts for it. I can keep that thing going.
Okay.
It becomes how much money every year are you putting into this thing? How energy efficient is it? You got a very small home, but got a $600 or $700 electric bill. I can show most people if they're in a situation like that, where I'll lower your electric bill, and what you were overpaying for your electric bill will pay the financing charge for the air conditioner. And I've got several success stories like that, but ultimately, all what we do, I can't speak for other air conditioning companies, but you should expect if you take care of your system, you should expect to get a minimum of 10 years, up to around 15. I've seen systems last 20 plus years. It's about how they're maintained, but the most important day of that system was the day that it was installed. If it was installed incorrectly, if they brazed those lines without purging with nitrogen, if they didn't follow all the installation process that comes with all the instructions, if they don't follow those and use good best practices, then you're shortening the life of that system from the day that they started it up. So picking the right contractor and making sure it was installed correctly is the most important thing that you can do.
Yeah, and I know that there's been some new technology coming down the pike, where we've been in these single and 2 capacity systems now for a while, and I hear something called an inverter, which is kind of new technology that's probably going to end up replacing what we have today, and it's energy efficient. Is that product or inverters already in use out there in the field? Is it
It's one of
somebody can purchase now?
Absolutely. We are. So that's one of our biggest movers.
Okay.
We move more inverter systems than we do of anything else. They are more technologically advanced. You have to do, there was a lot of training that we put into our guys to, so that they're at the top of their game to be able to take, they can walk. There's not a piece of equipment, not a residential piece of equipment that's manufactured out there today that we can't walk up to with any one of my people and know how to work on it with all confidence. But you said something a second ago. They're not only here. I think it's going to change the whole industry. I predict in the next no more than 10, probably less than that, probably 5 to 7. It'll be the only system. It'll be the only choice and it'll be the the Department of Energy that forces that to happen. I believe.
Okay. Yeah. I've just been reading about it. I just wanted to know. And so Jordan, I'm going to let you bug Mr. David up there.
Yes. Now let's talk about water. And this one's funny because anybody that has teenagers is probably very, very of this issue. But so how come the water runs out so quickly? I know quickly is depending on who you have.
Absolutely. And so we do get asked that question, and there's some things we got to know. A lot of times somebody just moved into a house and they're not getting the amount of water that they got in the home before. So I'd start with the water heater. Is it the age of the water heater? Has it been maintenance? Because if sediment that builds up in the bottom of the water heater, it'll take the capacity of that. And so now once sediment gets in there and it hardens, it's taking up that space of the water. And so now, especially if you have a gas water heater, just imagine a pot that's on the stove, and that flame has to go through all that sediment before it can ever get to that hot water. And then by the time it runs out, you don't have a full 48-gallon capacity of a tank. It starts shortening the life of it. Another thing is, why do you run out of water so quickly is slab leak. So if you have a situation where you don't see any water surfacing anywhere, you haven't noticed anything, nothing's going on, but you're running out of hot water, it comes out really, really hot, and then it just dissipates and starts going to warm water. That's because you've got more water coming out on the hot side of the system that's under the slab. And so you've mixed cold water with hot water. And so that top column starts getting heated up really quick. And then once it gets down to the water down there that's cooling. So what we do is we'll say, go out there and check your meter. That little leak indicator dial on your meter is spinning. And then you go up there on the top of your water heater where the shutoff valve is, and you shut that off, check that meter. And if it stops, you've got something leaking on the cold side. But usually the most common thing, the reason people are running out of hot water quicker, it's an older heater. It's not heating up, operating as efficiently as it used to, or it was supposed to when it was new. And we need to look at options. There's really not much we can do as far as if it's got a heater that's full of sediment. That's due to lack of maintenance. So getting you up and running, we're looking at replacement at that time. You have, just like Roger talked about, there's nothing on a water heater unless a tank leaks. If you have a pinhole leak in a tank water heater, there's no fix. It's replacement. It goes back to repair versus replace. And me and Jordan would have a conversation. It's going to take this much to keep your heater up and running. We can rebuild it, put all the new parts in it. The tank has already exceeded the life expectancy from the manufacturer. Not my opinion. It's what the manufacturer states. But as long as you want to keep this thing operating, we can put parts in it. But now we're talking about inefficiencies again. What is it costing you to operate that heater versus simply spending that money or that investment and putting it into something that's more energy efficient and getting you up and running?
So, David, question for you to follow up on that two-part. First one is, several years ago, I think in Texas, they changed the restrictions or the size or something of what these water heaters needed to be, right? And some of the older homes have smaller units or older units that aren't converted. Do you guys have to do some build out on these when you replace some of these, or do you try to get them to go tankless at that point?
That is a great question. And so that's where we have to sit down with the customer and have a conversation, because now when the energy department required to make these water heaters more efficient, they added insulation in between the jacket that you see on the outside of it, which has the brand and all the other information. Behind that jacket is a layer of insulation, and then the tank. So to make it more energy efficient, where you lose your efficiency is the heat loss. And so they can retain that heat. They just put more insulation on it, which made the outside footprint of the diameter of that heater bigger. So you go to get a water heater that's in a closet that you already have very limited clearance on each side. This new water heater is not going to fit. So now what we have to talk about is, hey, Hardy, I can replace this heater, but we're going to have to take the door frame out. We're going to have to remove some of the structure.
Yep.
Just to get your old heater out and get your new one in. And we don't have a framing department over here, so we have contractors that we work with. They're going to have to give you an option of coming out and framing, removing the door framing and everything that goes along with it. That cost, and then us put the heater in, then have to go and finish everything out, put the door back. And maybe Hardy, this is a conversation we shift to. Let's talk about tankless.
Yeah,
I can do everything that's in. I can remove this tank. Get that done for you. The other thing with tankless water heaters, if we get into cost, we don't really want to remove the door frames and we don't want to get a contractor involved. We can relocate that heater. And the cities that we work in, we simply open up the wall where the water supplies the heater, the incoming cold and the outgoing for the hot. We direct those water lines up into the attic, move everything up there, deck that, build a frame for the tankless water heater, and we just put it directly above that water heater closet. We've given you a closet. But by the time you look at cost of between the plumbing company and the contractor versus simply going with tankless, a lot of those conversations, it just goes that direction.
And am I correct on tankless that you get unlimited hot water supply too? Is that another benefit?
Yes, sir. It's endless amounts of hot water.
So Jordan, your teenagers would love that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But what we get on that is a lot of times customers they're more educated now than they were 10 years ago. about everything, no matter what.
Sure, they got online, right?
So we'll get out to a house and they don't want, they're tired of waiting for hot water. So usually most people, the way a house is plumbed in, the farthest bathroom from your water heater is, hey, I can turn the water on, I can shave, I can do everything else and check the water, and it's just about getting ready for me to take a shower. So yeah, I want a tankless water heater because I'm tired of waiting on hot water. Well, if you're not properly informed by the company that you're using, you're going to be real upset when you spend that money and put the new unit in and you went tankless, because it still takes the same amount of time to get from point A to point B. I can give you both, but a tankless water heater is what Herdy asked me. It's endless amounts of hot water. Herdy could literally turn that faucet on, do back-to-back podcasts till he's done with all of them, do some editing, get everything ready, and he'll still have the exact temperature of water that he had when he started. And the reason for that is it heats the water as it goes through the heat exchanger. So as long as the fixture is open, it'll never stop. You'd have to have the water have to shut off to your house, or your gas has to be turned off. Other than that, you can never run out of hot water.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. Is people are deceived that they think that if they're in the furthest room from it, right, that the water is going to come out instantly hot. It's only if it keeps running and you're running it through the system, but not instant on. So that was going to be followed, because I've heard that, and a lot of people think that means you're going to have hot water like that. So it's not
absolutely.
Good,
and
good for you.
So for us, and I can't speak for anybody, but for us, so part of the qualifying questions, if I was to talk to you about it, I'm like, so Harry, what's important to you? What's got you considering switching to a tankless? Or if we were talking about the other one, now that we're switching to talking about tankless, here's the things I need to let you know. Sizing, we're going to be able to give you this closet space back. It's, y'all seen them. It's not much bigger than a briefcase or a backpack, right? But if you want endless hot water, this unit's going to provide that for you. If you want endless, we need to talk about another option, which we have units that have circulating systems in them. And if it has a circulating system, we put those in, and there's some things that we have to put underneath your master bathroom sink, under the vanity, whichever the line, it's looped to first. So now it's pulling water. It's circulating constantly. It's got a thermostat inside that valve. And so once that temperature drops below 100 degrees, that solenoid opens up and it calls for water from that tankless water heater, pulls water to it. And then once it gets over 100 degrees, it shuts off. So that now, whenever you go in there and take that shower, your teenagers go in there, they open it up. They're waiting seconds, not minutes.
Gotcha. So, Roger, question for you. I have seen some videos, and it's a long way to ask a long question. So, Jordan, bear with me, because it just came up, and I wanted to. It might have never been asked to you before, so we're going to find out real quick. So everything's going battery operated. We got all these lithium batteries we store in our house for electric drills, for backup, for batteries. They sit in the house, and then all of a sudden I see some videos that some of these just catch on fire all by themselves, right? So I wonder if a Mitsubishi split system would be really cool for somebody just put a tiny house in their backyard to store their batteries and things, and use a mini split to keep it cool so they don't have to keep them in their house and avoid a fire problem.
So I've never thought about having to keep batteries cool, but you're right. I've seen a lot of those fires. We've installed mini splits over the years for numerous reasons. For in commercial, we do them a lot for what do you call the network banks? A whole bunch of computers in one room that's all got to stay a certain temperature. You have somebody that wants to build a man cave in their garage, or they just they work out in there a lot, or whatever people want to do in their garage. Maybe these rebuilds cars and he wants it climate controlled. Upstairs loft areas.
My thought was from a safety perspective. If you have animals and you're gone for a day, and you just want to make sure that you're keeping them in the environment that they require. And I'm just wondering, because everything in this house, I've got a Pecan battery outfit here, stackable for up to like 5,000 watts. And I've got other stuff I use, and I get nervous because I do live in an apartment, and it's hard for me to keep these in here, but I can't put them in the garage because the garage gets above 100 degrees, right?
Yep.
And
Mhm.
that's a no-no. So I was just wondering, are people thinking ahead about how they can utilize this technology? Like these mini splits are awesome, for smaller rooms,
They
smaller
are.
backyard sheds, whatever, to keep some air going. So, okay, dumb question, but I'm done. I just wanted to ask.
That's not a dumb question. I've never thought about the one for batteries, but I personally have done them for dog kennels. I did
Right.
one that was, I would call it a dog mansion. It was just a dog house. The dog house in the backyard looked like it was just a smaller version of the house that was built for the people.
I've been in a doghouse before, believe me.
Did you have your own air conditioner?
No.
Awesome. Now,
Didn't last long. Didn't last long.
I'm actually not familiar with this. What is this that you're talking about?
Who, me?
We talking about mini splits?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So mini splits, a lot of people refer to them as ductless, and so they are ductless mini splits. You'll have an outdoor condensing unit. They've gotten really fancy. Some of them you can have one condensing unit outside, and you can have multiple heads inside, and so they'll mount on the wall. You'll have a thermostat to control each head, and it just mounts on the wall. They're probably about 18 inches tall, about 36 inches wide, long, and they probably are about 8 to 10 inches deep off the wall. Very small, very energy efficient. There's a large market for them out all across the country right now.
Yeah, so if you have a man shed out back, they're perfect for that, Mr. Jordan. You can, instead of putting a wall unit in, you can put in a mini split if you're out there a lot. It'll last longer, better efficiency, and all that stuff. So
I've even seen people that are starting to install them on travel trailer RVs instead of using those roof mounted ones
because they wear out. Yeah,
yep. They mount it. Well, they're about the same price and easier to install.
There you go. I'll show you one, Jordan. After the show, I'll send you a picture of one for sure. All right, Jordan, back.
All right, so let's get back to plumbing then. So like this one,
it just shot through the roof and doggone it.
I know. First, go to this website and Google, what is it, exploding water heaters?
Waterheaterexplosions.com.
There you go. First, go over there and check it out, and then see if your water heater's making a loud rumbling, and then let's find out what that means.
So that is, when I was on a service truck and I get a chance to talk, I like to lighten the mood and everything. So I'm going to tell you a story about and I'll explain it. But I had a customer that single mom, couple of kids, and I'd done some work for from time to time. In my home inspections, I noticed the age of the heater and offered to drain and flush it. She wasn't interested. So one day I just said, have you ever noticed that the water heater was in the hallway? And I said, have you ever noticed, it was right next to the laundry, the washer and dryer, that after you get done doing laundry, or maybe the kids take a shower, get done, have you ever noticed your water heater making a popping noise? And then I said, and unless you bought the popcorn feature with your water heater, it shouldn't be making a popping noise. She didn't think it was funny. She's like,
no, I didn't think, but I did.
No, I've never heard that. Well, about a week later, 2 weeks later, the office called and said, hey, this particular customer would like you to call her. And so I said, this is David. The office asked me to give you a call. And she said, that was wrong for you to tell me that about my water heater. And I was like, ma'am? And she said, I have found myself walking by there after doing laundry, everything else, listening. And she goes, and it does make a popping sound. What is that? The popping sound is the sediment. When you heat the sediment up, it starts popping, and it's little bitty mini explosions. I don't try to use that. Be very careful who you use that with. I use popcorn. But that's the sediment that's inside the tank of the heater that's built up, and the heat that's transferring through the sediment. Every now and then, it just pops like a popcorn kernel. So that is a sign when if somebody ever talked to you about their water heater making a rumbling or popping sound, It's the sediment that's in the bottom of the heater. As it gets heated up, the water temperature inside the tank heats up. You just have little popcorn kernels that pop. That's why your heater makes that sound.
And so David, I lived in Austin before I moved back up here for our grandkids, and the big problem they had down there was really hard water, right? Where everybody needed a water softener. Is that still part of the reason we get so much sediment built up in a lot of these water heaters? Is it the hard water here, or
It's two-part. Different areas in the Metroplex have harder water than others do. And a lot of it's the sediment that comes from our city water. So if you don't have a pre-filter to catch the sediment coming out of our city water, all of that gets into your tank. And so a good analogy that we all will understand, and a lot of our customers understand when you try to explain it, everybody knows what a snow globe is, right?
Yep.
And so whenever you don't have anything, you don't have a faucet turned on, nothing's coming out of that tank of that heater, all that sediment that comes in from the city water, the municipal water supply, that'll settle down into the bottom of the heater. Okay. Well, the heater, whether it's electric or gas, once that temperature inside that tank starts to get below a certain degree, then the elements will kick on. The burner on your gas water heater comes on, and it's going to start hardening that sediment that's settling in the bottom of your heater.
Wow.
Well, when you open up a faucet, it's like taking a snow globe and shaking it, and all that sediment gets stirred up because you have a dip tube that pushes water directly at the bottom of the heater. The purpose of that is to push that hot water up, so that as you're opening up a faucet, it's pushing that hot water that's in the tank out to the fixtures.
Got it. Interesting.
That's awesome. So, and now you're hearing your water heater popping, because now that we told somebody's going to hear it, now there's like, oh no, I hear it now. What does that mean, and what should they do?
So what they need to do on then is they need to have a licensed professional, preferably Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, come out to their house and evaluate. Is it there's a pressure relief valve on the top or side of most water heaters. We can pull that out. We can inspect it to see how much sediment's in there. You know, is this something that draining and flushing the heater, it's still a minimal enough amount that you're okay, but we need to get you on a maintenance program. You need to be draining and flushing this thing out often. We need to talk about putting a pre-filter in to catch the sediment that's coming in there. But if the heater's past a certain age and you don't know, maybe you've moved into the house or you're unaware that it's ever had maintenance done to it, once that hardens, there's no getting it out. There's no, let's just scrape all the sediment out, suck it out. Once it's there and it's hardened, there's no getting it out.
So this is really fun, bouncing back and forth. I'm kind of totally lost in the podcast, but it's kind of fun. So Roger, flipping over to Roger. It's 100. It's not, we've gotten lucky this week. We've got some rain. It's not your typical July, right? And boy, are we thankful for this break where it's only been 93 and 94 and you know, it's been fantastic. But next week it's going to be 100 degrees again. You know, August is coming. And so people probably are always calling you and saying, my air conditioner is running all the time and I can't get it. It won't, my house feels hot. Yeah.
Never, ever have I heard that before.
I bet.
Yeah. So and the thing is there's a lot of reasons for that, for it to be happening. Right. So if this is an older system, that has never reacted that way, you know, throughout the years, then we've obviously got some kind of a problem.
Sure.
More than likely, it's going to be some sort of something related with airflow, and that can be airflow across the coil. That can be airflow not being pushed because the fan is so dirty. It could be airflow because the filter is dirty. You just haven't changed it, even though you promised me you changed it every 30 days. Some people don't really tell the truth.
Yeah.
And sometimes you haven't had you've got a lot of crud in the outdoor condensing unit, so it's not able to condense the refrigerant the way that it's designed to. It could be that the system might be operating absolutely perfect, but all the insulation in your house is settled. So you've got heat infiltration like that. It's not always your air conditioning system.
Right. So this goes back to my original question: is have maintenance, right? Have a maintenance program, because then they can call you and you can determine there might be some other issues like insulation is not good enough in the attic, keep the heat out. Maybe the unit needs cleaning. Maybe there's bushes built up around it and it can't breathe. There's all sorts of reasons that cause that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe the thermostat quit working, right?
Sure.
So everybody's into these smart thermostats today. Is that generally what happens when somebody gets a unit now? You just convert that over to wireless, into where people can download an app and manage their house from their car.
So they're very, very popular nowadays.
I bet.
There are some people who still just want the basic on-off, move the temperature.
Right.
They don't want any programming. They don't want any apps or any of that. Those are few and far between nowadays.
Right.
So almost all of them are some sort of a learning thermostat, have an app. The inverter systems that you mentioned earlier, almost all, as a matter of fact, all of them that I'm aware of have what we call a proprietary thermostat, where there's one thermostat that you're going to use for that system, and it's provided by the manufacturer, and there's no getting away from it, because it's what we call communicating. All the single stage systems and the 2-stage systems that we've known in the past, they all operate off of 24 volts, which is basically like a single line freeway, one way or the other. It's on or it's off. Send me a signal.
Gotcha.
or not. These inverters, much more complicated. It's more like a digital 12-lane freeway, where you've got information flying back and forth constantly. The condenser's talking to the blower motor, the condenser's talking to the thermostat. Quite complicated, which is why we send our guys to a lot of training for those.
Yeah, I was going to say the inverters tend to have a complication with them not everybody's familiar with, so you need to choose your people to know how to do this wisely, which in your case is you, because you've got experience with it. Not everybody does. There's even some people that would probably call you, I imagine, if they get a call for that, right? Because they don't know what to do. So another AC company may call you and ask you help on that, correct?
So I've never actually had another AC company call me for help, but I have had customers that chose another air conditioning company to install the system,
and
then call us within days of it being installed.
Okay, gotcha.
To correct whatever error codes or charge properly, and that's one of the most critical things. Is people, I'm going to use some terms a lot of people might not have ever heard, like superheat and subcooling. But those are terms and ways of charging systems that we've had for my whole life, 40 plus years, plus whatever, Mr. Carrier invented air conditioning in the first place. Nowadays, a lot of these, especially the inverter systems, they're what we call critically charged systems. So you have to weigh in your refrigerant, and you have to measure the length of your line set and know the diameter of your line set, and do all those math calculations to weigh in exactly to the ounce how much refrigerant you need for those. And it's not hard, but it's just not one of the basic best practices that we've had for most people's careers. This is kind of new information, and a lot of people are just afraid of it, and they don't go take the time to learn about it. And unfortunately, they do that on the customer's time.
Yeah, so they're beta testing their client.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so this is a good time for me to say this on the broadcast, Jordan, forgive me. And that is that, guys, if you own a home, don't try to be a plumber, and don't try to be a heating and AC expert, okay? There's gas, there's safety things, there's electricity. You need to call masters and people have been doing this a long time to come do their inspection. Okay. People get hurt at home doing this stuff. So we're telling you, we're not teaching you anything DIY today. We're giving you tips so you can call the professionals to help solve problems or things going on in your house. So Jordan,
I got to add to that too, make sure not just the work, but the installation too. Pick somebody that knows what they're doing and is licensed. Because if your unit isn't properly installed, even by an inch, they're going to deny your warranty. And I say that from experience. I had a coil leak, and it was the plenum. I think it's
Plenum?
The plenum was an inch, literally an inch too small, and they denied total warranty because of improper installation, and we had to replace the coil out of pocket, which was expensive.
It's very expensive. And the key word, one of the key words you said there is licensed. There's a reason.
Yeah,
that David,
exactly.
There's a reason that David and I are licensed contractors.
That's correct.
We're held accountable by the state of Texas
Correct.
to know and understand all of these codes and safety regulations. And we're responsible for everything that any of our technicians do and touch out in that field. We are personally responsible for that. And there's a reason that we get licensed.
And that leads me to this, is that handymen that aren't licensed aren't plumbers, and handymen that aren't AC and heating. Okay. So unless they're licensed, you call a licensed professional. And these two companies here in Mansfield can do that for you in a beat and get you all set up. So Jordan, did we cover just about everything or
No.
okay, good. Keep going.
Let's hop over onto some more plumbing. Right?
It's back to plumbing.
This is another one, right? And locally nowadays, I don't know if everybody, but most of us have the electronic water meters. So the moment you have a leak, you get an email. It's like, hey, you left the water running or something's happening, and you get a little bit of the idea on that. Not always, but most of the times you get that if you don't have an electric water meter, it's something might be happening you're not aware of. But I'm pretty sure this has happened to a lot of people, is the water bill goes up and I don't really see a leak. I mean, my ground's not soft. Like, I don't really see where this could be happening, but there's a noticeable difference in the water bill. So can you help us a little bit with that?
Absolutely. And hopefully you haven't got one, but what we get calls this time of year is they've got a notice or notification from the city in increased usage, and you need to have a plumber come check it out. And so it could be as simple as you've got a toilet that's running. That will increase it. It's just a toilet running. You say, well, how could that increase it? Because it's gallons a day. If you have a running toilet that never stops, and maybe it's in a hall or somewhere that you're not aware of it, and you don't know that it's running. So one of the things you got to check, make sure you don't have any running toilets. And for the do-it-yourself part of this conversation, any type of dye will work. These are things homeowners can do themselves. Put that dye in that tank. Make sure that the colored dye stays in the tank, doesn't get down to the bowl. But if you don't have any running, dripping faucets, will cause your water bill to go up. You went outside, you don't really see anything, no wet spots, anything around the foundations. You definitely at that point, if you know you don't have any running toilets, can't find any dripping faucets on the hose bib, exterior, interior, and you find no wet spots, then you need to call and have us come out and do a pressure test. You need to check. And so what we're going to do is when we come out, you should have a customer shutoff valve up by your house. The purpose of that is if you have a leak in the house, you go up in there and you shut that valve off. That's going to cause what's leaking in the house to stop. You also have a city meter that's down by the street. That actually belongs to the city. So if you damage or anything like that, the city may come back and say, hey, that's our meter, you touched it. But anyway, so what we would do when we come out is we've got to determine if you don't have any running toilets, dripping faucets, nothing like that. We want to determine if you do have a leak, is it in the yard or is it in the house? And so what we're going to do is we're going to separate the yard from the house, and we're going to test the incoming pressure, and then we're going to on a pressure gauge, and we're going to show you that, hey, when we add the yard into this, the gauge drops. We take and only test the house, it holds. So you have a leak somewhere in the fresh water supply between the meter and the house, and then we've got equipment to help us locate that.
And a follow-up question, David, for you is, we haven't mentioned this, I want to make sure I bring it up, is it's pretty common for people to have water pressure issues inside the house, right? So they might have a water hammer, they might hear a vibration in the wall. Do you guys have the capability of checking water pressures, right, to make sure they're within the tolerant, right, level?
Absolutely. When we come out, part of the inspection process, if we were to come out to somebody's home, we always address what you call us out there for today, And once we've done the diagnostic part of it, then we're going to ask if there's some place we can sit and visit or bring you to the area that we're talking about. And we're going to talk about repair and replace. We are a service and repair company that offers repair replacement options. And so we just simply would educate you on what it's going to take to repair it. And if it's old enough, or depending on what situation comes in, we're like, well, shoot, for that, what would it cost to replace it? And we're going to do whatever you want to do. We're just going to educate you on what those are. But yes, when we come out and do that, before we leave, part of what we do is we're going to check the incoming water pressure to let you know 80 PSI is what the state is required. It is, as a licensed plumber, we have to educate you on anything that's over 80 pounds of pressure. We have to give you an estimate to install a pressure reducing valve to get that pressure below 80 PSI, and we have to put an expansion tank. The expansion tank is once we put the regulator in of the pressure reducing valve, now it's a closed loop system. So there's nowhere for that pressure to go, which is going to create that water hamming that you were talking about, Herdy.
Yep.
So the expansion tank is going to absorb. It's like a shock absorber. It's going to handle the thermal expansion that's going to go on now because it can't go back through the water meter. Before you put a regulator in there, the pressure reducing valve, I don't know why I keep saying regulator, that can go back through the meter. But when you put that pressure reducing valve in there, now you've got a closed loop system, so the pressure can only go forward. It's got to have somewhere to release itself from. So the other thing that we like to do is we like to show customers where this information comes from, so it's just not my opinion. It's actually a state code. So if you have a licensed plumber in your home and they check that pressure and they show you that you've got 92 pounds of pressure, or some areas that we work in, we'll see it over 100 PSI. We have to explain to you, hey, you don't have to do anything, but I am required to make sure that you understand that you've exceeded the maximum pressure of 80 PSI, and I have to leave you these estimates. You don't have to do anything with them. I'm here to educate you, but I have to do that. So the other thing that's very important that you need to know is if you would go look at, your washer, your dishwasher, your faucets, go pull up the manufacturer. Most manufacturers have a disclaimer in there that these fixtures are not rated to handle anything over 80 PSI. And so a homeowner will say, well, I just put this new dishwasher in. Are you telling me because I've got 97 pounds of pressure? I'm not telling you anything. I'm required to tell you got 80 PSI or you got over 80 PSI. This is what I have to tell you. You just looked up on Delta's website. They've got a warning right there for you. I'm just an information giver. This is not my opinion. I'm just hearing information.
Yeah. And I think that's really important because people don't realize, that these little things can cause big problems down the road, whether it's appliances, leaks, or whatever. One thing I was able to, even though I live in an apartment, I having them installed. I have leak detectors under my sink up by my water heater so that if we're gone and something happens, I have the ability to see a leak. Okay. And so, Dave, my other question to you is what breaks the most and floods a house in your opinion? Is it toilet hose or is it just a water break somewhere?
So the number one cause, the number one insurance claim filed every year is water. And so the most common is a water tank. And from there, it's the supply lines going to your fixtures. Yeah, gotcha. Another one that's in there, you don't see it as much anymore, but used to, remember on the wash machines, we used to see the black rubber hoses that were on the back of the wash machine. Yeah. And now, most everybody has the braided stainless steel lines that are on there.
Good.
Here's another fun piece of information for you. On those black rubber hoses, there's a card that used to come with them. You don't need installation guides on them. But do you know that you're actually never supposed to leave those hoses under constant pressure? The manufacturer says you're supposed to turn the valves off. They were never designed to be under constant pressure. So we would go in homes, and one of the things on our checklist we would show you is, and I've seen them as big as tennis balls. I'm like, hey,
we've dodged a bullet.
So yeah. And so that's another good thing that I think that we do a good job of is
maintenance.
Everything doesn't have to be done by us. I think it's a bad practice to let your customers know that there's not things that they can do themselves. If Jordan wanted to know how to rebuild his water heater, it's not rocket science. I'm going to tell him what parts he needs that I recommend. If you got any questions, let me know. If he wants to change out his the washing machine hoses, because if we get done talking, he's like, hey, I've got those hoses you were talking about. We will help you with those things. I will not go past a point to where there's things that you can do in your home that are going to create issues, safety issues for you and your family. I'm not going to let you cut into water lines. I'm not going to let you touch gas. I won't talk to you about them. I'm not going to tell you how to do those things. I'm going to say there's a reason that to become a licensed plumber in the state of Texas, you have to have 4,000 hours of training. There's a reason. And so, but there are things that we get asked all the times in our meetings, sometimes our networking meetings, people will call us, hey, is this something that I really need to have you or Roger come out, or is this something I can do? And if it's a maintenance thing or something that you can do yourself, I'll tell you how to rebuild your toilet. When you need me, I want you to call me and I'm going to help you out with that project. There are certain things that you can do yourself.
So you're not going to coach me into how to jackhammer through my foundation and try to find my slab leak?
I'll come over and watch. I'll be on site. So
they can fix it once it gets drilled down into. Yeah, they're going to put that under contract.
No, I'm not going to advise you.
Look that up on YouTube.
So Roger, we're getting the top of the hour here, so we're going to be finishing up soon. So one more question for you. It has to do with, and Jordan can ask it, filters. So how often do I change my filter, Roger?
So it's a varying question. And with these answers, they can all be different depending on how your lifestyle is. Do you have children? Do you have pets, cats? Do you have 7 dogs in the house? All these are different, but everything being equal, I would say that if you have 1-inch filters, that you should change them every 30 days. You should change them once a month. If you have a 2-inch filter, I would say every 2 months. A 4-inch filter, every 4 to 6 months. And if you have a 5-inch filter, I would say no less than every 6 months. And
can I ask one more question that we haven't addressed on AC stuff, and tell me yes or no? Do you think that folks, from a bacteria standpoint, like in winter especially, could use UV up in the exchange unit? Do you recommend that, or do you stay away from it, or do you think it's dumb?
I think everybody should have. There are so many different UV lights and things that we can do for indoor air quality, allergies, bacteria. But at bare minimum, everybody should have at least a UV light on their evaporator coil to help keep any kind of bacterial growth from growing on that.
Thank you.
But I can talk to you for an hour.
I figured you could, but we're going to cut you off at the top of the hour. Okay.
But that's your short answer.
No, but the reason I asked that is I know people realize how important that could really help them, especially people that are highly allergic and it dust. It's really good to have that unit up in the unit. So yeah, good. Glad I asked that.
I believe we have literally helped change people's lives with some of the indoor air quality solutions that we have.
That's awesome. So here's what I've taken from this conversation. And by the way, this is a first for me interviewing 2 different companies. Jordan, I kind of enjoyed that. That was kind of fun to see 2 companies connected at the hip and being able to share information to potential clients. One other thing I need to, before we finish up, do both of y'all handle commercial and residential? Or are you limiting yourself to one area?
We are definitely residential and commercial company.
Okay, fantastic. So you guys got a pretty big market and everything. So I put their websites up. We will share that again under the YouTube description at the end of this. Guys, any final thoughts? Because the one thing I took from this is with all the things that can possibly go on inside a home, have a maintenance agreement. Oh my gosh, call these guys, get signed up like tomorrow, and have peace of mind that, they can come out and look at something and give you the next best advice on what needs to be done. And I think, and then repair work stuff becomes part of the plan, and you don't have this big, huge bill you have to pay, right, all at one time if you're taking care of your stuff. So,
and at least you have an idea of what looking forward to.
Right.
We won't let you get caught by surprise. But I do have one thing I'd like to end off with, which is a special that we started at Minuteman
yes.
Heating there.
Thank you.
Does Minuteman have any specials or promos? Absolutely. So we periodically throughout the year, we run all kinds of promos, especially for maintenance. One of the big ones. So that's $129 value that we typically do for about $89 different times of the year. But the one that I'm most proud of that we started a couple of months ago, and I hope that we don't take off the table, is that any military veteran that buys a complete system from Minuteman Heating and Air, we will provide maintenance on that system for the lifetime if they own that system.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I don't believe there's anybody else, or at least there's not very many other people that would make an offer like that. But I hope we never take that off the table. I'm very proud to be a part of a company that'll offer that.
Right. And Dave, do you guys have similar stuff, or just being different company, different things apply, right?
Yeah, different things apply. We do have, we will give free maintenance to military veterans. Right now, we've got a double deal coupon going on. So if you use a double deal coupon, it's a waive the trip charge, and a percentage of the ticket is discounted.
Super.
Awesome.
Well, guys, thank you. I've just put up the Benjamin Franklin Plumbing website, which we'll post inside the description box later after the broadcast. Also, you can go up and look at our YouTube channel, but you can also MinutemanHeatingandAC.com. These are Arlington and Mansfield businesses that are close to our surrounding area that can service you. These guys are connected at the hip through an owner, and it looks like a great working relationship. Jordan, any final thoughts, sir?
Thank you for giving us all this knowledge. I mean, I think this was a masterclass on homeowning 101, the things you should be doing. Everything we covered are so important for anybody that owns a home. You're either new to it, or maybe you just haven't been that good about it, or if you're purchasing a new house, right? Like, these are really important things. So thank you so much for all that knowledge. And, like, I hope you guys will be getting a lot of calls from this because, those AC units, those water heaters need a lot of attention. And I think we don't realize it because they are built so well, they just keep running until they don't, they just explode out of your house.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, guys. I enjoyed it.
Well, hey, just sit tight for a minute. We'll be off in a sec, but I want to thank everybody for watching on YouTube. It'll be on demand. You can always go back and watch these guys. I'll be creating some special shorts for them that they can share out to their social footprints, and we'll have them back. Believe it or not, August 22nd, but we're booked all the way through August. We're going into September now in the Mansfield Buzz. We want to thank everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you on YouTube next Thursday, 2 p.m. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.